talk a lot about harmony. Perhaps it's time we explored melody a little further. Being able to identify and notate a melody, based on simply hearing it, is an essential skill for any musician. You're listening to Music Student 101. Let's get to know melody better with your hosts, Jeremy Burns and Matthew Scott Phillips.
And just like that.
And just like that.
We are back.
We are back.
Hey, you know what? I was kind of thinking about we got 2 more episodes between now and the listener compositions episode.
Right.
Which I'm so excited about. Musicians, composers, get your submit your compositions to us.
Get them to us.
Before the first week of October, preferably.
Mm-hmm.
Because that episode will air probably in mid-October.
Right.
So anyways, I was kind of digging through what I like to do when I don't have any definite ideas or definite plans. I just kind of go digging through the episodes and looking at all my part 1s.
Right, yeah.
I'm like, there's probably a part 2 I missed somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And then I noticed something that I called Matt about yesterday. I saw Cadences part 1.
Right.
And I called you up and I was, Matt,
what would Cadences part 2 be?
and I said we covered the half cadence, the perfect authentic cadence,
right? Yep.
The authentic cadence,
the imperfect authentic cadence,
the imperfect, the Phrygian cadence,
yep.
half cadence,
Phrygian half cadence, yeah,
the plagal cadence,
yeah.
And I was like, what else?
That's kind of all the cadences.
Yeah. So I think what I have to do is actually just go back and call that cadences.
Call that cadences.
But there was a part 1 that I ran into a long time ago, melodic dictation.
Right.
And I feel inspired by a couple of things here.
That's good.
We recently had these 2 episodes on how to transcribe a song.
Yes, we did, yeah.
We transcribed Dewey and Dora from our friend Keith Andrews.
We did, yeah.
That was a lot of fun. And
there was some melodic dictation involved
in
the second episode in particular. Yeah.
Definitely some melodic dictation involved. In fact, a couple of listeners since that episode has aired have written us in and asked, hey, can you help me transcribe this? Or what would you charge even to transcribe this?
Yeah.
And, well, me personally, I don't know how much time I have to devote to that kind of thing on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I know, Matt, you are swamped. You're teaching 5 days a week.
Yeah, it's kind of bad timing, unfortunately. That's not a no, but, we can talk, but...
No, and casually sometimes I can help out. I've been helping casually off and on our listeners,
Yeah.
But as far as a proper thing as fancy as I did for Dewey and Dora, I'm not sure. But I tell you what we can do. We can get back into melodic dictation and learning more about the melody itself.
Yeah, so we can sort of teach you to fish a little bit.
Teach you to fish, rather than just give you the fish.
Yeah.
Or sell you the fish. So I have thusly been inspired to revive the melodic dictation series.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Melodic dictation part 1 probably just should have been major scales. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we were mainly dictating major scales.
We did, actually. 3 examples, I think. 3 or 4, and they were all major scales.
Yeah.
However, we did not distinguish it as such on the title and actually during the episode. So
right.
I think it would be good to go ahead and officially do this episode and officially name it Melodic Dictation for Major Scales.
Yeah, I agree. This is one of those skills that's actually useful.
Yeah.
Which is something I tell my students a lot. This will actually come in handy, being able to hear a melody and notate it out, as our listeners understand,
And not to mention, I think it's okay to get back to the basics sometimes. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get closer to to the content of this episode.
Yeah, well, this is something that it's a skill, and like any skill, you have to maintain it, right? This is just like playing your instrument. If you don't do it for a while, you'll get fuzzy. You'll get kind of feeling like, it's been too long since I've done this, and so this is something that every now and then going back to basics. Doing a little melodic progression just to keep your ear sharp. I do it myself. So.
Yeah, I should. I guess I do it when I'm doing the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I teach these classes, and that's actually a lot of good practice for me as much as it is for them, too. So.
Yeah, I bet. Well, let's go ahead and do a new review, shall we?
Let's do that. So we have a new review, 5 stars, yay.
Yay!
From TFGF Mars in the USA, who says, incredibly helpful and entertaining. Been listening to you guys for a few months now. I started taking piano lessons towards the end of 2017 and have lately been trying to ramp up the progress. Some of the topics are a bit ahead of me in terms of how I can practically apply the theory into my playing. Well, just be patient. Mm-hmm. But I feel these podcasts give me a good preview of what I have yet to cement into my head. Thanks for the awesome podcast, guys. And well, thank you, TFGF, for the awesome review. We certainly do love the positive feedback. It helps us keep going.
Yes, and TFGF Mars said something that I find interesting. This is not the first time I've heard this recently. Mm-hmm. Regarding some of the topics being a bit ahead of them.
Yeah.
Another reason we are getting back to the basics today.
Another reason we are getting back to the basics, yeah. Life moves pretty fast in music theory world.
Yes, it does. Especially if you're binge listening.
Yeah.
Which some people do.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So thanks again, TFGF Mars. And now moving on, we have a few new Patreon patrons.
Oh, good.
And I've contacted a few of them. And some of them I haven't heard back from yet. Patreon patrons, check the site on occasion. I do send messages. I've been experimenting with that versus emails.
Right, yeah.
So I have sent some messages and haven't gotten a lot of responses back.
Yeah.
So there's no new cool stories to tell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But and then there was the email debacle, which I won't get into right now. But either way, I do have a couple of people who we've mentioned before.
Okay.
During listener emails who have actually joined the Patreon family.
Yay!
In episode 69, we met our friend Mariah Schillern from Hampshire, England, Overton, Hampshire, England. Mm-hmm. She says a very small town with a big music community.
Oh, those are great. I love those.
She says she put down a guitar to pick up choir and vocals, and then in 2015, she met with the ukulele and never looked back, she says.
Yeah, I remember this.
So I have heard back from her. She's on Patreon, and it's great to have you there, Mariah.
Yay!
Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much.
We also, even further back, we met our friend Richard McLean. Back in episode 39, we talked about him a little bit. He was about to retire from engineering.
Yeah.
And was looking forward to dedicating more of his free time to music.
Right, yeah.
So let us know how that's going. Richard, hit us back.
Please do.
But either way, welcome to Patreon.
Yeah.
And thank you for helping us out.
Yeah. He's not alone. I know a couple of retired engineers who have taken up music.
Yeah.
Now, you know, it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. If I felt like that was my calling.
Yeah.
But for some reason I had to get a 9-to-5 to support my family and buy the occasional guitar.
Yeah.
I would imagine when I retire, that is all I would do. I mean, aside from spending time with friends and family.
Yeah, lucky for us, we were willing to be just broke for most of our lives. And
yeah. Didn't make a difference. We're at the same place as we would have been, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, Patreon is just a site where, actually Richard was a PayPal donor a while back. We do have a donate button on our website for PayPal.
Yeah.
And we do gratefully accept PayPal donations.
Yeah.
But on the Patreon side, it's a little easier to keep up with for me, and also you get your little perks, like you get to watch the cool videos.
Right, yeah.
You might even get to have your own Patreon episode.
Yeah.
You get a coffee mug.
Yep.
Given whatever tier that you join in, you'll just have to get on the site and find out more about that yourself.
Absolutely.
Patreon.com/musicstudent101.
Yes, go check it out.
All right, now, thanks again, guys, and let us continue to our listener mail.
Okay, our listener mail. Dan Grayson says, hey, just wanted to drop you a line. I'm a 40-year-old who wanted to be a musician for a long time. About a year and a half ago, I revisited my guitar and started tinkering with bass and keys. Now I play bass in a little dad band. Love it. Love your channel. It's helpful for me to get my brain wrapped around this stuff.
Right?
Well, we're glad we can contribute, Dan. I am always a proponent of, go pick up the guitar or the keys. Go play bass in a little dad band. I'm a proponent of that. Make music a part of your life. You'll be glad you did.
We are at the age where I think just about any band that we're going to be in is going to be a dad.
It is going to be a dad band of some kind of. Yeah. At this point in our life, we're not exactly a motley crew, right?
No. Our kids are the motley ones.
Yeah.
Dan also says that they call it a a dad band because they're all parents chasing and trying to recapture some of their coolness in the 90s from the 90s.
Yeah, professional musicians do that too, Dan.
He sent me a link that kind of sums up the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was this video called Dad Band.
Yeah.
Check it out on YouTube. It is the most fun. It is so true also. I mean, it's exaggerated, of course.
Yeah, one of those funny because it's true kind of.
But and Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains is in it. He's a bass player. He kind of plays the 4 times divorced bass player.
That's great.
But you got to see it. It kind of does sum up that.
We're going to have to check that out.
Before we move on, Dan had one more podcast-related question.
Okay.
He said, do you think you'll ever have a call-in type podcast, if that's even a thing?
Well, that's a question for you, Jeremy. You're kind of the tech person.
Yeah, and technically speaking, it would be kind of difficult to pull off because I think, and logistically too, because the few times we get to spend together for our episodes, it seems like it might be difficult. What if we set up an episode for a caller and then something happens and they can't get into us?
Yeah.
Do I have to have a backup episode? Where do I put the energy?
Backup episode. We used to have backup episodes back when we first started.
We had a whole well of episodes to draw from.
Yeah, we had like 15 episodes. We thought, okay, well, this will get us through most of,
Those are long gone, aren't they?
Yeah, like half a year later, it's like, okay, well, so much for that. Now we're kind of flying by the seat of our you-know-whats. And
you know what? A lot of podcasts that do this kind of thing have backing and like a location they go to and kind of a regular schedule.
Yeah.
Though we have somewhat of a regular schedule. It's still not...
we should really work on that.
Yeah. Like maybe get a producer.
Yeah,
and like
we should work on that. So we need a keyboard player. We need
we have a physicist.
A physicist, yeah. We have a physicist. We need a keyboard player.
We have 2 artists.
2 artists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting there, man. We're growing.
Now we need a producer, yeah.
We're growing. But in the meantime, it might be a while before we do that kind of thing. I know that I think you and I could probably call a listener and interview them, just on speakerphone or something like that.
Yeah, and we can look into that. We can put that on the idea board and see how close to that we can come in the future. Yeah,
it's not a bad idea.
It's a good idea.
One of the things we like to do most is talk to other musicians.
Yeah,
and we enjoy talking to each other a lot. But sometimes it's good to have another voice in here.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's kind of what's going on with that. Getting back to the basics again.
Back to basics.
Some people might just Google melodic dictation major, and this will be the first thing they come up with.
Yeah.
In which case, they will have never heard anything up until this point.
Right, yeah.
Where we obviously recommend that you do this all in sequence.
Yeah, but maybe a little bit of a review is in order.
Just a little bit. And given this was episode 23 that we actually did this, and now we're on episode 78.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a review would be in order.
Yeah.
So let's see here. In this episode, we kind of, like I said, we did the major scale a little bit. We did some examples, but we're going to dig deeper today.
Yeah.
It involves a lot of second-by-second decision-making, oral skills.
Well, it definitely involves a mental process. For some people, the second-by-second decision-making process is their natural kind of go-to thing. The more I teach oral skills and the more I work with people trying to get good at oral skills, the more I start to feel like, well, second by second isn't really the way we perceive music. We don't listen to a piece and think that note, then that note, then that note, then that note, then that note.
No.
So I guess I start to wonder, should we try to dictate that way? Or should we try to hear what's going on in the melody? Or do you have to start out second by second by second to get to the point where you just hear the melody?
Good question.
Yeah. It's those kinds of questions. This is not easy. This is a skill that has to be acquired. I don't think anybody's a natural in it, really. At least not to the level where you're dictating melodies off the radio or for money or anything like that. That is definitely a skill that you acquire.
Oh, and real quick, just to be specific, melodic dictation, that is, in fact, the act of listening to a melody and then being able to write it down
in notation.
In notation,
right. Yeah, that's the go-to thing. So yeah. what I have found is that everybody has a process that works best for them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good idea to sort of allow yourself the freedom to figure out the way to approach this in which you personally have the most success.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to say, well, this is how you do it, can sort of can sort of eliminate people who have a different perception process and a different mental process. So, allow yourself the freedom to figure out what your mental process is. You know, having said that, there are one or two things, one or two approaches that you can take that seem to make it easier no matter who you are, or it seem to be worthwhile for you to consider, just to get you beyond that kind of okay, well, I have no idea what that was stage, and more into the stage of, okay, I sort of have an idea of what that was.
Well, on episode 23, we did cover 3 specific tips.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we relive those real quick?
Let's relive those tips.
Okay, I just pulled them up here on my website.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, so number 1, identify the tonic.
Identify the tonic. Very important.
Listen to all textures and see if you can find home base.
Yeah. And we do that by taking a note and singing down the major scale, right?
That seems to be what works best for me.
Yeah.
And I never thought it would until I tried it. And it blew my mind and changed my life.
Yeah.
Singing down from you want to show a quick example of that?
Yeah, sure. So, should I play an actual melody, or should I just randomly play something at this point?
I mean, mainly for the starting note, I guess, just to find a starting note. But yeah, you can play a quick little.
Okay, so when we orient ourselves to the tonic, if I'm just playing stuff, and so at this point, hopefully we can sing the tonic note.
Is that it right there?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. So this note that we ended on then, what did I just play? But yeah, some of So what note was this? We'll just sing down to do.
3, 2, 1. Or
yeah, there you go.
Mi, re, do.
Yeah. So we're on Mi, aka scale degree 3.
Yes.
And that's how that works.
Yeah. So yeah, finding that starting note can easily be done if you know where the tonic is, because you just try and sing down to it.
Yeah.
Had it have been a 5th.
Yeah, had it been a 5th. Yeah, perfect.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's that. That's been big for me.
Yeah.
What else did we say? Number 2, hold on to do. So once you find it, don't let go. Right?
Don't let go. Keep do planted, cemented somewhere in the back of your head. And then, hopefully no matter what I do,
I know how to tell someone to do that. I don't know how to tell them exactly how to pull it off with the neurons firing and all that stuff. And, how to mentally do it.
Just keep it humming back. Practice. Hey,
yeah, sit down at the piano yourself.
Yeah.
And come up with the chord progression. Maybe throw some chromaticism in there.
Yeah.
Some secondary dominant chords.
Yeah. I had a little 5 of 5 going in there at one point. Yeah.
Very good. And then finally, you want to establish the rhythm.
Yeah.
Kind of, you want to sync your internal clock with the tempo and time signature of the melody in question.
Yeah, pat your foot, in other words.
Pat your foot. I found myself snapping
Yeah.
in that last episode, and every time I snapped, I had to go back and turn it down because it was spiking. Something about snap just cuts right through everything else like a knife.
Yeah, unbelievable how that happens.
So if I snap, I might snap over here, or I might just pat.
or try to just like an air snap,
Snap.
not making prevalent sound, right?
That's kind of funny. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have to fix that in post.
Yeah, of course, when you're taking dictation quizzes, there are other people around you that you might be annoying, so you have to be careful with that. But
that is a problem that comes up, and we've talked about that many times. Did we call it the Liggity effect or something like that?
the Liggity effect, when you have a classroom full of people going, It sounds like Yorgi Liggity's music for 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Well, there's actually a pretty cool tip later on that we're going to get into when we read this article that kind of might help some of you through that potentially embarrassing exercise. So let's see here.
All right.
We also, I think it's important to go ahead and point out that we discussed sight reading a bit in episode 48, which is kind of the opposite of dictation. Melodic dictation.
It's looking at a piece of sheet music that exists and then producing it as music.
Yes, and then playing it or singing it, whatever your instrument is. So,
right, yeah.
These both very much tie in together because if you can do one, you can do the other.
Yeah.
I think easier or better.
Yeah, the one skill informs the other.
Yeah. And then just one more note that I think we should all point out. Even those who aren't musicians can get a more enriching experience by knowing more about how it works.
Absolutely. And this really does teach you how it works in a way that merely studying theory can't. You know, I'm a huge theory nerd. I love theory, but if all you're doing is reading theory textbooks and learning concepts, you know, you are missing a part of your education about how music works, and that you're missing the actual oral application part of how music works. This really does teach you how it works in a fascinating way, because you're seeing it work. You're living with the way it works. You know?
And earlier we were talking about some of your classes and some of the students that you have and their struggles, and how theory, maybe to a musician specifically, is kind of horrifying.
Yeah, I've kind of thought before, you know, to a person with a personality as such that they decide, I want to be a musician, you know, theory is terrifying, right? Or theory can be very intimidating.
Right.
You know? To the person whose personality might say, I want to be an engineer, you know, theory is probably less intimidating, right? It would be the actual performance in front of people that would be terrifying.
The jury or the actual show.
It would be the actual getting up and playing the instrument that would be the terrifying part. The theory would be good, you know?
Right?
But for the personality who decides I want to be a musician, you know, it's the theory part that can be intimidating,
right?
You know?
The people who really,
And the truth is, everybody is smart enough to do this. So yeah, it's just applying yourself and developing the skill set that makes it possible. You know.
Well, speaking of which, because this kind of ties into this article I'm about to read. We're about to cite here.
Yes.
Because the author Julian Bradley had a very kind of cool story. He said that when he was young as a musician, he felt like he was always behind all the other musician friends of his.
Yeah.
Didn't seem to be learning as fast.
Yeah.
Went to school for it at first and didn't get really good grades.
Yeah.
In music. But he kind of tells the rest of his story and his struggle.
That's interesting. Did you feel like you were not learning as fast as the other musicians when you were there? When you were in school?
Absolutely. And you know what I put it off on? You know what my excuse was? I said I'm a garage punk surrounded by band people. They already know how to, and to some degree that was true.
Which is not invalid. We both kind of were
That's
that
not
way.
enough. But as a musician, I still felt like I'd been listening to and playing along with all my rock music and Primus and some pretty complicated stuff.
Yeah.
While they're learning Stars and Stripes Forever.
Yep.
So we're still learning, we're still listening, we're still learning.
Yeah.
But I wasn't reading anything.
Yeah, what they're learning you're not is how to read.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember feeling like I was very behind. You know, I mean, I guess I didn't feel like I wasn't learning fast enough when I got there. I felt like I was picking it up okay, but I just felt like I was coming in very behind, some of the other people. So I felt like I was always sort of playing catch up to what other people already knew.
Well, up until that point, what you and I were doing was just sitting in our rooms with our instrument, playing this music and playing along with our amps, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, it wasn't until I got into choir at UAB where I started to learn what it sounded like to have the other parts working around my parts, because I was singing tenor. Yeah. And there would be times where, like, okay, everyone just take a break. We're going to work with the altos. Yeah. And you get to hear the alto part.
Right, yeah.
And in my head, I'm kind of singing my part while I'm hearing this.
So you're getting that 4-part harmony deconstructed for you.
Yeah, how your music works with other... Where I imagine also the band people in, high school band or whatever would have been doing the same process. Okay, rhythms section, chill for a second. Let's work on these horns. Let's work on this melody.
Right, yeah.
So, trying to break it down in my head. But what it is, I mean, I don't know, all that to say that there's some great tips you can pick up, and we're going to share some of those today to expedite this process.
Yeah, to expedite the process.
All right.
And to sort of explain what's going on when you're doing that.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me go ahead, because like I said in episode 23, we gave some pretty good tips of our own, and we're going to get back into those before we get into the exercises. Just as a recap. Yeah. For the process, the recommended process. Right. But I do want to share this article that I found on themusicalear.com. It is by Julian Bradley, M.A. That's Masters in Music, for those of you who don't know. Mm-hmm. And basically, he just kind of prattles out a good 8 tips. It's called 8 ear training tips to pass ear training exams. Yeah. So let's see how we feel about these. And don't think you have to be a college student to even continue listening to this, because you will be working those melody muscles.
Replace the word passing exam with the words, creating your lead sheet. Ah, yes. Or dictating the melody like we did in the last 2 episodes.
Or being a better musician all around.
Or being a better musician, yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get into this first tip, shall we? Okay. And of course, we're going to post this article on the website. I'll go ahead and say that. First off, internalize the music. So the first 2 playings are about listening and memorizing the music. If you can play the music in your mind, you won't have to depend on your instructors playing alone. Yeah. Or you might not get that other listen.
And this is one of those highly personal approaches that do definitely work for some people. I have definitely had students that in their exams just like to take the first listen and just do that. Just listen. Just sort of listen to it and get it in their ears a little.
So you take your pencil and you gingerly put it down on the desk.
Yeah, now if you've only got 3 listens and you spend the first 2 just listening, you might be stressing yourself out. It depends on the context. Of course, if you're just sitting there with a song that you want to make a lead sheet for, dictate or something, you have as many listenings as you want. So in that case, definitely do this. Yeah. Definitely do this.
Yeah, well, I think we decided we're going to give 5 listens.
Yeah, okay. 5 listens.
I think that's what we did last time.
Yeah, that's a pretty basic number there.
And I think with 5 listens, that might coincide with his tips as well.
Yeah.
We shall see.
We shall see.
Okay, so that makes sense, huh? Next tip.
Do the work during rest periods. Try not to be notating while the melody is playing. During those first 2 listens, formulate a theory about what's going on, then test it. And that's actually a very, very good tip. That's one of those things that I don't know that I've ever explicitly said, but is definitely true that most of your work is probably going on between listens, where you're analyzing what you just heard. And that sort of counter to the second-by-second decision idea, where you're hitting this note, then this note, then this note, then this note, right? Right. This is sort of the intuiting you listen, and then you do your work analyzing what you just heard after you've heard it.
Yeah. So I guess this differs from the first step in that, well, the first step you're listening and not trying to write anything down. Yeah. But you're still adhering to the concept that you're turning on the theory brain between listens. Yeah. Does that sound what he's trying?
Kind of turning on the theory brain a little bit between listens. Yeah. And using your inner ear and your inner theory brain to determine what it was that you just listened to.
So I think that's valid.
Yeah.
And then formulating a theory about what's going on. I think that sounds like us. What we're referring to is just overall impressions.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
All right, man. Let's move on to our third tip.
Uh-huh.
Intervals first.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to start with the section of the melody, often the first part, whichever you feel best about.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Note, I'm sorry, not every note, of course, just a few in a row.
Right.
You know, maybe notate this over the notes in your line. I'm thinking like on the top of the staff, just like what, major third, minor second, whatever.
Yeah.
You think that's what it sounds like?
Yeah, sort of.
Julian suggests that we don't try to associate melodies with those you already know. For example, perfect 4 equals bridal march.
I agree with him on that.
Yes. And I've mentioned before that this method does help me.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt, like you said, I think you early on were trying to push away.
Kind of wander away from that a little, maybe. Yeah. Well, this is a classic technique that everybody does to recognize intervals. Like, for example, the perfect 4th is "Here Comes the Bride." Yeah. Or the major 6 is "My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean," right?
I was going to say, but my Bonnie.
Yeah, but my Bonnie. Well, your Bonnie's not helping you dictate melodies, unfortunately.
No, she's
because
not.
While that is a great way to remember intervals in isolation, I have reservations about how useful it is to remember intervals in context, right? And melodic dictation is all about context. And the problem with saying, okay, this is a major 6 because... The problem with that is, yes, it's a major 6, but when you play a melody like that, it's more than a major 6. That is the outline of the tonic triad, right? With a passing tone.
Yeah.
In that NBC, that's the other.
That's the NBC.
Yeah, sorry, bleep that out. We don't want to get sued. But learning to think of this as so mi re do do ti la la so, or even 5 3 2 1 1 7 6 6 5 is more helpful than thinking of it as. Why is that helpful? Because when you hear that again. Now it's recognizable as an interval. Which it would have been really hard for you to hear, with all that other stuff I did, So it's kind of about, for me, it's more about context. And rather than go, okay, this is a perfect 4th up, this is a major 3rd down, this is and do that second by second decision. For me, it is more helpful to say, well, I started here, and I'm kind of moving in this direction by skips, by step, by whatever. I started on scale degree 5, and then I heard us jump to scale degree 1, or I heard us jump past scale degree 1. Did I land on scale degree 3? Oh, well, let's sing down the scale and find out, right? And do these kind of things within context rather than go, okay, that was a major 6, that was a major 3rd, that was a minor 3rd down, that was because your brain can't really work that fast. When you get to the point that you're what were those intervals?
Which ones?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, it sounds to me like the alternative that Julian is giving is very similar to what you're talking about. Saying rather sing the 2 notes a few times back and forth and then break up the interval by trying to sing a note in between. Yeah. Oh, so if you could sing a note in between, there's a chance you might have a 3rd or a 4th or a couple of notes in between.
Yeah.
So if you can find 2 intervals between 2 notes, maybe try and add them together. Yeah. And figure out what the interval is.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, it does sound like math.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I do like his 4th tip with that in mind. Yeah. The where do the intervals fit?
Yeah, let's get to that. But first, I do want to mention that what he was referring to is called the stepping stone method. Adding 2 intervals and see if you can fit one in between.
Yeah. So for example, can you get any notes between those? This is starting to sound like a major 3rd. Yeah.
because you added that major second with another major
Yeah,
second.
yeah. And that's a great thing to do sort of in isolation. If you're just, there's always one or two like tricky spots, right? And that's a great thing to do in those tricky spots. Just sing them back and forth to yourself until you have a good sense of what interval that is.
Right.
And I guess in that sense, thinking "Here Comes the Bride" or "My Bonnie" or whatever might actually be helpful in those points of isolation.
Yeah. It's not complete garbage. You just kind of want there's more effective methods.
Yeah, you got to know what tool to use when. You know, you don't want to try to hammer your nail in with your screwdriver.
Right. Well, let's get into that fourth tip, shall we?
Yeah, this fourth tip. So, where do the intervals fit? Once you have a few intervals figured out, you can begin to relate them to scale degrees or note names. You can use a bit of deduction. For example, if you hear the interval of a half step in a minor key, you know that there are only two places that occurs, between the second and third and between the fifth and sixth. Right, so if we're in a minor key, you know, if we hear that's a half step. Right? Try to fit a note between two of those. We can't really do it.
No, you cannot.
No. So you know that's either going to be 3/2 or 6/5.
Yeah.
So you know just down the scale, right?
And when we listen to the Phrygian half cadence in that first episode, we
Yeah.
kind of get a good idea of how how different those two sound, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and on the same note, I think the same thing applies to a major scale, correct?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. So I mean, if you hear, for example, you know, that's going to be 7/1, right? You know, versus
Oh yeah.
you know, that fa mi, which is so common in music that you know this just starts becoming something you'll just hear.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely. So that is something I didn't think about. That was kind of new to me, but it makes. I mean,
yeah, you know, you might get in trouble when you get into things that have a lot of chromaticism because, you know, once you have a 5/5, there's another half step that it could be, right?
That's true.
Once you start getting into German augmented 6 chords, there's at least 2 half steps in that chord alone, let alone, you know, how you've decided to resolve that. So it'll get complex if that's all you're doing. I guess the overall theme here is kind of have more than one tool in your bag. I mean,
right.
You know.
Well, I think that by the end of this little list, we can determine whether or not, and I think that this is actually intended for the more simpler
Yeah.
starting off melodies, right?
Yeah, yep.
But anyway, you want to move on to number 5?
Yeah, let's do that.
This is one of my favorites because we talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
Humming.
Hum the melody to yourself.
Hum the melody to yourself. Now, we talked about the classroom environment, of course, and how if you have everyone trying to hum the melody at the same time, there's going to be some chaos and confusion.
Yeah, yep.
But dig this trick. Plug one ear with your finger and hum quietly.
Yeah, it'll sound louder to you. Yeah.
It'll sound way louder to you. And I actually tried to plug both ears and hum, and there was something more effective about just plugging one ear.
Yeah, huh.
Maybe something about how it's resonating in one ear versus how I'm hearing the higher overtones.
Yeah.
Because I had one ear open.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, I was at this rock concert with one of my friends, Bob Barker, not the Bob Barker from Price is Right, but a friend of mine, Bob, and he did a cool thing that I never beheld before. He was going to tell me something, and he stuck his finger over my ear, and I was like, what the hell's going on? But he stuck his finger over my ear and closed it shut and basically screamed into my ear. My ear was completely protected. I heard every word he said with clarity, not like what you're hearing now.
Yeah,
but you can make out the words he was saying.
Wow.
So we found a way to talk to each other during concerts. You just got to say, dude, hold your ear. I'm going to scream into it. Make sure you cover it all the way.
Make sure you cover it all the way. Yeah, well, I mean, earplugs work on that basic, you know, if you've ever worked in an industrial environment or somewhere where you need earplugs, you'll know that you can still hear people talking to you, you know. Yeah, because those high frequencies are still kind of getting through a little bit, you know.
So that's just a cool to know that there's ways to do that without being as distracting as you might originally think you would be.
Right, yeah.
So let's move on to number 6, Matt.
Okay, so think logically. This is my favorite one yet.
Just in general?
Well, I mean, you know me and the theory brain, and the think logically. Think period is sort of a standing bit of advice I have for everyone.
Well, this tip sounds the closest to the theory brain concept that we're talking about.
So think logically. Keeping in mind what we discussed in step 4, you can also make logical guesses on what's going on. Yes, you can. This is your theory brain.
Yes.
Based on what you know about the genre you're analyzing. For example, if you know the key and the starting chord, you can assume the starting note to be root, 5th, or 3rd.
In that order?
No. And at all. Mostly.
There's no rules in this regard.
Well, you know what happens when you assume, right? That old adage.
Yes, you do.
Same goes for that ending note.
Now hold on. Let's keep in mind that we're still talking about simple melodies.
We're still talking about very simple melodies, and so when you're talking about simple melodies, you can, I guess you do sort of make assumptions that, okay, it's probably going to start on one of the notes of the tonic chord.
But I'm making an assumption thinking that this is about simple music because I don't think he ever actually said that.
Yeah, right, yeah. And even still, when you carry those assumptions into more complex music, you start feeling that complexity because you don't have the skill set to break out of those assumptions, right? It can be, this is something that's challenging for students, for my students when I say, because it sounds like I'm being very pedantic. Like, okay, what note did that start with? And they'll all say, it started with the tonic. Oh, they all start with the tonic. It's like, and yes, they do until they don't. So, while it's easy, make that, be sure of yourself. Because one day, there is such a thing as, and especially if you're out in the real music world, if somebody is giving you something to transcribe, and there are totally things that go, that was not starting on the note of a tonic chord.
No, it was not.
If you decide that's B flat major, you are in super big trouble already.
Okay.
And you're going to be stepping over a lot of your preconceptions to get it right.
So in that case, you started off with a non-chord tone, where I think the wisdom, the conventional wisdom in this step is that if you know you're in a major key,
yes,
and you hear what you know to be a 1 chord,
yes,
then you could, if you had to prioritize which note you would start with, tonic, 5th, 3rd, chord tones, is a more logical place to start.
And if you can sing do, if you can sing the tonic, as previously mentioned in previous steps, then even if it doesn't start on the top, then if it starts on one of those chords, then it's super easy. If I can, and then it starts, 3rd, right? And then especially if it does something typical, then that was real easy, right? And even if it's not easy, even if like in the previous example, there it is. If you can sing do, then this is not that, and then it goes down to 5, right?
Yeah.
Because 5 is 5 that goes to 1, right? Yeah. But there's no 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Still sing down that scale. If you know where that tonic is, you can get it whether it starts on that note or not.
Oh, very nice.
This is to me engaging your theory brain and thinking logically. And thinking logically definitely is good. So
step 7, it took me a second to kind of grasp what he was referring to, but track the melody. I think basically what I'm understanding is knowing where the melody is in the given key makes transcribing easier. Well, that goes without saying to me. But even just knowing 3 or 4 notes, for example, in step 3, we kind of talked about if you can just get 3 or 4 notes in a row and know where they are and where they fit in the scale.
Yeah.
Well, the next note that moves up or down, you can get a pretty informed idea of what note that might be.
Right. Scale. Yeah, absolutely. Just taking a minute to say, well, did it go up or did it go down? Did it go up and then down? Having a sort of mental picture of the contour, very helpful.
Another point is that a lot of melodies they rarely move by leaps more than a perfect fifth.
Rarely, yeah.
But we can't say never.
we can never say never, but
logically,
a big part of what makes us perceive something as a melody is its its range. It's sort of not jumping to another voice. It's staying in that voice and doing stepwise motion.
Or just arpeggiating all around the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me that makes sense. It's also a little bit of theory brain logic going on.
Yeah.
So I think we covered that pretty well. I mean, it's kind of comforting to know that the intervals you'll be dealing with might be half of those you would normally have to confront.
Right.
So anyways.
Yeah. And so his last tip is switch the key. If you can switch the key in your mind to a key that you're more familiar with, he says, for example, he plays best in C minor. So imagine that to be the key and then transpose after the fact. Well, if you're a college student, you may very well be asked to transcribe in any key whatsoever, and be good at all of them.
Transposing, transcribing.
Yeah. If you're really more comfortable, sort of mentally picturing in some key that this could possibly work. And if you're a vocalist, vocalists tend to have the keys they're most comfortable in. So imagining it in that key, just so long as you don't forget to transcribe it back into its original key at the end.
Well, to me, that step sounds like an extra step, know. But at the same time, I can see I've never done this before myself. This is the first I've heard of this concept. Julian says he's more comfortable with C minor of all keys. So even if he's playing something in E minor, he'll go into C minor. and then he'll visualize it. What he would be playing in C minor.
Yeah.
And then he's got the notes, he's got the scale degrees, and then he transposes back to E minor or whatever the original key is.
Yeah.
Which is a great exercise.
It's a good theory exercise, yeah.
So if you can do that.
I would think if you did that enough, you would start getting better at the other scales too.
Yeah, just being a more well-rounded musician and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that those were some pretty good tips.
Pretty good tips, yeah.
Yeah.
The basic idea is, the basic idea is in those tips. But the basic idea is use your brain, think about, analyze.
Using your theory brain.
Yeah.
And though the first tip kind of dealt with what to do with the first few listens, we're going to take over and tell you kind of what our idea is of how to go throughout
to sort of figure it out. The worst thing you can do is just say, "Oh, I don't know what that is," and just sort of wallow in that feeling of not being good at this. The idea is to analyze, to work up to knowing what it is. Very few people will hear a melody and just instantly know what it is. This is always a process of analytics.
Yeah, it's throughout your life as you're learning licks and learning melodies. Ideally, you're storing them in your brain.
Yeah,
and entering a new level of experience as you go.
Right.
And hopefully those, I've noticed like certain themes and melodies that I've learned and played before, I know when I hear them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I might have to go back and polish it a bit. Yeah. But it's kind of, I get the general idea.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And that's what ear training is. This is just kind of a formal version of that.
So,
with all of that in mind...
it's about that time, y'all, where...
we get to torture Jeremy.
We get to torture me. I got my little notation pad here.
Yeah.
And we're going to do 5 melodies.
We're going to do 5 melodies, really? Or 5 listens of a single melody?
Hopefully 5 listens of 4 or maybe 5 melodies.
All right.
And I'll try not to fool around too much. I'll just try and nail these.
All right.
Okay, so now we're going to get into the Jeremy torture portion.
The Jeremy torture.
We have a recommended order of things you can probably do during these listens. We're going to try and do 5 listens, I think.
Yes.
So in the first listen, we're going to focus on the rhythm primarily.
Yes, unless you're one of those people that want to just listen the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which actually is probably, well, yeah. If you have 5 listens, maybe just listen. Get the overall impressions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so, and then maybe the second listen, you want to write out the rhythms.
Yeah.
Paying attention, clapping, or in your head, snap, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And again, that's also general impressions. I guess we kind of combine those in the first 2 steps.
Yeah, we kind of do.
Or in the first step, rather. Second listen, you want to focus on the notes themselves. So you want to kind of notate your melody.
Yeah.
Or even kind of an idea of the contour of the melody.
Yeah.
But if you can't get those notes in there, go ahead.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to that?
No, that's pretty good. With 5 listens, contour is probably okay for the second one. On the third listen, maybe start getting some of those notes. And some of those specific notes. Listen for where things are in relation to do. Listen to where things are in relation to sol. Scale degree 1 and scale degree 5. Right? And yeah, just keep plugging in. Some people like to write the first measure and the last measure by listen 3.
Yes.
So that's an idea. And hopefully listens 4 and 5 are just confirming what you've decided.
Yeah.
Maybe listen 4 is devoted to the really, really tricky spots.
Right.
And then listen 5 is hopefully just confirming what you believed.
I feel like there's been enough times we might hear some of that in this, where I've tried to do the first measure and then the last measure. Yeah. And then what I think is going on in the last measure, when I try and connect the two, there's a gap in there somewhere, Yeah. I have to go back and reassess.
Yeah.
But I guess since these are simpler melodies, right, Matt?
Yes. These are relatively simple.
We're gonna maybe see if we can do four of these. Maybe even get in less than 5 listens if I can.
Okay.
But we'll see, man.
We'll see.
Maybe we owe it to the student to do all 5 listens.
We'll see how it's going.
Yeah, and how much time we have.
Yeah.
Okay, so Matt, tell me about this book you've got over here, man.
So this is my oral skills book that I use in some of my oral skills classes.
Just has a whole bunch of random melodies.
It just has a ton of melodies. Yes.
Who's that by?
Let's not say, because I don't have permission to actually use these melodies.
Okay, great. There might be some apps y'all can check out for that kind of thing. A melody generating app, I'm sure.
Melody generating app. Yeah, that's probably what they use to write this textbook.
Okay.
So here we go.
I have my pen. I have my notation paper.
So this is going to be an A major.
A major. You're going to get us an A major. I will go ahead and put down my little, because there's just one line and it's the melody. I'll be thinking in treble clef.
Yes.
I'll put down my treble clef.
Yes.
I will do my order of sharps.
Yes.
Right. Fat Charlie goes down.
That's probably one too many.
That's one too many. That was E major. We just have 3 sharps in A major.
3 sharps in A major.
How many of these episodes have I done? Okay. F sharp.
Yep.
C sharp.
Yep.
G sharp.
Yep.
Boom.
Yeah.
A major.
Yeah. And
are you gonna give me the first note?
Should I?
No, you shouldn't.
All right.
I should determine it for myself.
So I will not give you the first note. So here's our melody. 1, 2, 3, 4 measures.
Great.
Right? Okay. And I'll give you 2 measures for nothing.
Is it 4/4?
4/4, yeah.
Okay, great. So in this lesson, I'm just going to try and get the overall impressions. I will be counting, but I'm not going to be trying to write anything down.
Okay, all right. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Okay. So overall impressions?
Yeah, overall impressions.
Thinking about the melody, thinking about the contour. It's something else, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
But I got that first part. It sounds like it kind of goes, starts at a certain point, arcs up, moves back down, and then slightly back up, and then slightly more down.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's kind of a narrow range, isn't it?
Yeah, yes. Also, yes. Not a lot of leaps.
Yeah, not any leaps, I don't think.
Okay.
Oh.
Great.
Yeah. Want to hear that again?
Yes, and I think this time I am going to try and think about these rhythms here.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. I think I have my rhythms here.
All right. What are those rhythms?
I think that in the first measure, I heard actually a half note
Mm-hmm.
on the first one.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
3 and 4 each have a note.
Yep.
So we have a half note and 2 quarter notes in the first measure. Second measure. Na, 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 na.
Yeah.
I'm snapping into my microphone again. Na, 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 na. So I'm just hearing 2 half notes in that second measure.
Yeah.
Third measure, and then again, I lost the melody in my head, but I feel like what I heard was actually 3 quarter notes and then 2 eighth notes.
Very good.
Okay? And then the fourth measure, I heard 2 half notes, similarly.
Yes. One kind of point of order, and I may have even done this wrong couple of times, but 1, 2, 3, 4. What you heard was a quarter note and then a quarter rest.
Okay.
That's not a cardinal sin, right? That's kind of
on the last measure or the second measure.
The very last measure.
Okay, so that instead of what I heard is 2 half notes, it would actually be a dotted quarter note.
A half note and then a quarter rest.
Ooh, a half note.
Yeah.
And then a quarter.
Yeah.
And then a quarter note rest.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I might have even played that poorly, but
that's all right, man. Okay. Very cool.
So now we're starting thinking about those notes, right?
Yeah.
Have we decided what note we're starting on?
I don't have it notated, but I do have it in my head.
I
can't sing that high. Na, 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 na. This guy right here. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
There you go.
That felt right.
Yeah.
So I think we're starting on the third.
Sounds good to me.
So I'm going to make that first half note as a C sharp note.
As a C sharp, yes.
And then I'm going to see if I can anchor onto that and hear the rest of it and see how far I get.
All right.
Third listen. Maybe this will be 5 listens.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Didn't do as good as I thought I would on that one. But I do feel like it ends with a half cadence type situation.
I think so.
And I do feel like this last note could very well be a leading tone.
I do think so.
So then what I got to do is figure out what happens after this. Okay, so I think I got the first, second, and fourth measures nailed down here. So let's see.
Okay.
Let's see what happens here.
Okay.
I have first measure, half note C sharp, quarter note D, back down to that C sharp.
So quarter note C sharp
for the other quarter note.
Yep.
Measure 2.
Yeah.
Still on that C sharp. Only now it's a half note.
And now it's a half note.
And then it actually moves down to a B.
To a B, yeah.
In the second measure, which I need to correct that over here. B. Okay.
Yeah.
And then let's just skip ahead to the fourth measure.
So third measure is kind of our question mark right now.
Question mark. And then the fourth measure, it's actually just a C. That half note thing with the that first thing is the C, and then the last one is a B.
We said that last note was going to be a leading tone, though.
Oh, in C Wait, no, we're in A. Crap, I'm in the wrong key.
You're in the wrong key, yeah.
Oh.
See what happens when you try to transpose?
Yeah. gracious. So C sharp. That should actually be an A.
Yep.
So the last measure, half note A.
Yep.
And then that last note would be a G sharp.
G sharp.
Because it's the leading tone.
Yeah.
I feel pretty confident about that.
Yeah, sounds pretty good. So now we've got 3 of our 4 measures.
3 of our 4 measures and 3 of our 5 listens.
Yeah. So on listen 4, kind of on schedule, right? We're just sort of dealing with the tricky spots. In this case, tricky spot is measure 3.
Yes,
What's
it is.
going on with that? So let's listen again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, this third measure, I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
That first note is a deuce. But I want to say it's a 6. No, that doesn't work.
So sing that note. Well, first of all, sing our tonic.
Our tonic?
Yes.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then sing that first note of measure 3.
1, 2, 3.
There you go.
Is that right? Oh crap! All right. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1, 7.
Sounds like it to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so on listen 5, we're just listening to confirm what we heard, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. Feel good about that, huh?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I think we did pretty good.
All right.
Yeah. And so you see that it takes a little bit of analysis. It takes a little bit of trial and error.
Uh-huh.
You know, it takes a little bit of thought. You know, some parts are trickier than others, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Even at such a simple, basic level, what we're doing here. My
But
main
sometimes
problem,
on the basic levels, you can overthink it.
main problem, yes, that's a big problem, and also memory, not great for me. Retention, not great.
Right.
So I got everything going against me, but we're gonna keep on plugging through.
All right. Want to do another one?
Let's do another one.
Okay.
And fear not any key. I fear not any key.
All right. We fear not any key.
I do,
That's
but-
good to know.
Yeah.
So let's be in D major then.
Awesome. Two sharps,
Yep.
F and C.
Uh-huh. And let's also be in 3/4.
Love it.
And 4 more measures.
Great.
So here we go. Ready?
Yes, sir.
First listen, impressions.
Okay, D sharp. I'm sorry, D major.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. Okay. I need to be in D major. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Haha, okay. All right.
So we know where we ended anyway.
We know where we ended. Yeah, general impressions, honestly, this was a little weird. For
Really?
me. Yeah. I did hear a walk up
Uh-huh.
to 5 at the end.
Yeah.
So I do know that's cool.
Yeah.
And that 5 is actually the last note on the final measure.
Yep,
So
yep.
that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything else I'm not sure about. So maybe this time I'll do the rhythms, right?
Yeah, maybe this time let's do the rhythms.
And maybe while I'm doing the rhythms, the other things will be sinking in.
It'd be sinking into your brain. Absolutely. Absolutely. Here we go.
Second listen.
Yep. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now let's see if I got this here.
Okay.
The second measure was a little squirrely for me, but we'll see what happens.
Okay.
First measure.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 quarter notes starting us off.
Okay.
1, 2. Actually, this second one is not a quarter note because I want to say it's actually a dotted quarter note.
Oh, there you go.
Because that last note of the measure happens a little quicker than I would have thought otherwise, which makes it an eighth note.
Yeah.
So when you do the math, you have a quarter note, a dotted quarter note, and an eighth note.
Yes.
That is 3 quarter notes. That's one measure.
Yes, and then measure 2.
Measure 2, I want to say it was actually a half. How would you do this? Would it be a dotted half note? No, because that would make it.
That would be the whole measure.
That would be the whole measure.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I have to have just a half note that ties over. What I'm thinking is happening is the whole measure is blank until the last note, that last eighth note. But I might have just missed a whole lot of stuff.
You might have missed a couple of notes.
Okay, well then let's do this. Let's skip on to measure 3.
Okay.
God, is this going to be chaotic for people to listen to the way I'm doing this?
It's okay.
If you're writing this...
This is the process.
Yes, if you're writing this down, which you should be, you're kind of watching as we do this.
Yeah.
Measure 3, I'm pretty sure I heard just 6 eighth notes.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. Climbing up the scale and landing on what I think is scale degree 5 on the 4th measure.
Yeah.
So I will go ahead and notate. We're in the key of D major.
Mm-hmm.
I'll notate this little A as our 5. Okay. All right, I guess third listen. Oh, now the third listen is where we try and find that starting note.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because I think I just abandoned the rhythm on the second measure, hoping I'm going to get it this time around.
Okay. So our starting note, what do you think it might be?
Let's hear it. Okay, so we're starting on 5.
Very good.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and notate that. Oh my gosh, what a mess. This is a mess. When you're doing it, when you're putting the notes, the rhythms on top of the measure, it might be smart to do stem up. Because if you do stem down, it's going to get in the way of everything else you do.
Yeah, probably.
I just learned. Okay. So
we do this in pencil, too.
Pencil, very important.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've determined that that's an A note.
Yeah.
Let's just see how this goes.
Okay, so listen 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Third listen. Okay, so here's what I think I got here.
Mm-hmm.
We start off on that 5th, like I said, which is A in the key of D.
Yes.
We have quarter note, moves up to a dotted quarter note, which is the scale degree 5 or the B.
Yeah.
And then before the end of the measure, we had that quick eighth note moving back down.
Yes.
Which is the A again.
Yeah.
Second measure. Yes. I think there's a little bit of time. It's not right on the beat. It's not right on the beat. So I'm thinking we're hearing, the first note is on the beat. We have a G.
Yep.
A quarter note G.
Yes.
Moving up to a dotted quarter note A.
Yes.
And then the eighth note G moving back down towards this third measure.
Yes.
Okay, so, and in the third measure, I thought I heard a full walk up. But there seems to be other things going on because when I try and walk from D up to A, there's only 4 notes.
Right, so we're missing a couple of eighth notes. I'm missing something.
So I have to listen to that again. And then the 4th measure felt like a pretty solid single note.
Yeah.
In this case, we'll call it a dotted half note because half note is 2 beats. The dot makes it 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. God, okay. So simple sounding, but...
can be confusing, though.
So I think this 4th listen, hopefully I should be able to nail this 3rd measure. And
yeah, let's see. Let's focus on the 3rd measure again.
Okay.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Ah. Okay. Okay. Na 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 na. So the walk up is in fact na 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 na. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then right before that, we had this little thing walking down to that note, which began at the F sharp.
Right.
So third measure, F sharp, 8th note, F sharp, moving down to E, 8th note, and then all the rest are 8th notes walking up the scale from D to E to F sharp to G and landing on A.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then this last listen, I guess we'll just confirm it all.
Well, yeah, the last listen, hopefully it's just confirming what we already know.
Okay. Let's hear it.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
1.
Yeah. Feel good?
I think so, yeah.
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 Awesome.
Okay. Let's have another.
Let's have another.
That was a little tough for me.
Okay.
This is my journey too, y'all.
And mine.
I know Matt's like, I'm trying to carry this guy up this mountain. Killing me.
Okay. Let's see what I can throw at you.
Again, we're sticking with major scales and not
a
a lot of chromaticism. Not a lot of...
Yeah.
Maybe not worry about that so early on.
So let's stay in D major, shall we?
That's great.
And let's be in 3/4.
I'm not as good at 3/4 apparently as I am at 4/4. Okay, I got my C sharp, my F sharp, and C sharp. 4 bars, 4 measures.
Yep.
3/4.
Okay, listen 1. Impressions.
Impressions.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Ha! Matt, I think you're being nice.
Not really.
No? Maybe I shouldn't speak so soon. I thought I heard like a na 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 na.
Yeah.
Na 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 na.
So that is a melodic sequence, right?
A sequence, yeah.
And actually, there was one in the last example too. That one was descending. This one was ascending.
Right, between the first two measures.
So if you can sort of engage your theory brain and think, oh, that would sound like a melodic sequence, that will be very helpful to you in figuring out what the notes are. Right?
Yeah, because the same thing happens and then a similar motion happens in a different...
Yeah, same contour, just up one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great first impression in my opinion.
Yeah, want to do that again?
Yes, please.
Here we go. 1...
And now I guess I'm working on the rhythms.
Yeah, now we're working on the rhythms. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, so the first measure sounds pretty even, pretty straightforward. First measure, 3/4 notes.
Mm-hmm.
Second measure, what I would say a whole note, but I would be wrong because it's really a half
It's
note.
a dotted half.
A dotted
right.
half note.
Yeah.
Third measure, 3/4 notes.
Mm-hmm.
And in true theme to the melodic sequence, we have, again, 3/4 notes followed by a dotted half note.
Right, yeah. All right.
Okay.
So third listen.
Third listen. Oh, so, all right, well, let's see what this first note is.
Yeah, so...
Was that it?
That was pretty close.
No, is that the note?
Yeah.
That time I sang up and back down again.
Yeah.
To find the root.
Well,
but was I wrong?
Well, you had to sing up because you didn't have anywhere to go trying to sing down, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have anywhere to go trying to sing down,
I just immediately started singing up.
Yeah. So maybe you are...
On the tonic.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe singing up can help sometimes.
Unless you sing and think you sang up to the root when you're actually sang up away from it.
Ooh. Tricky. Careful for that, guys.
So, yeah, practice singing your scales. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. You know?
Yeah. Great.
Okay. But anyway, lesson 3. 1, 2.
Quick question for you. Would I be starting on the D right here, or would this be more on the upper part of the...
I would start on the D below the treble clef.
Below, okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yep. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. I want to say that is a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Yep.
Okay, so the first measure, we have 3 quarter notes. We have a D, moving up to an E,
Yep.
moving up to an F sharp, and then in the second measure, it moves right back down, only by a step, to the G. I'm sorry, to the E, which would be scale degree 2.
Right.
And that would be a dotted half note,
Yes.
occupying the entire second measure.
Correct.
Now, second measure,
Third measure.
third measure, I heard that theme where it's walking up again.
Yep.
It sounded like it started somewhere a little bit higher in the scale.
Yes.
I played a little guessing game and just decided maybe it stayed on 2.
Yeah.
And did 2, which is actually E,
Uh-huh.
up to 3, which is F sharp,
Yep.
up to 4, which is G, and then moving back down and landing and resting on the third,
Yes.
which is F sharp.
Yes.
So third measure, 3 quarter notes, E, F sharp, and G.
Yep.
Last measure, dotted half note, boom,
Yeah.
on the F sharp.
Yeah.
Write that down.
Very nice.
How many listens was that? 4?
That's only 3.
Oh crap, did I ruin it?
Or
did I-
I think you're ahead of the curve. So now you would have 2 listens
Okay, let's...
to just confirm what we know.
Okay. Well, is it fair to say this melody was a little bit easier than the one beforehand, maybe?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm rhythmically diminuting from what was originally 3/8.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And only playing half of it. Or actually. So yeah, maybe I was taking it a little easier.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fun.
Okay, I think we had time for one more.
Okay, one more. Let's see. See if I can give you a good one. Let's be in F major.
F major.
Mm-hmm.
B flat, 1 flat.
Yep.
Big Ed and Dan. Or battle ends and down goes Charles's father.
Mm-hmm. And let's be in 2/4 this time.
2/4, interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's actually do 5 measures.
Okay. 2/4 is considered a polka in some genres. I know in Irish music, 2/4 is a polka.
Yeah.
Also referred to as a march, I think, sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So ready?
Yeah.
Here we
As
go.
I'll ever be. So.
First listen.
Okay.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Okay. Yep, that is 5 measures.
Mm-hmm.
In my head earlier, I was thinking this sounds like more than 5 measures, but I guess it's just more busy notes.
2/4 can do that to you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was the first listen.
Mm-hmm.
Let me think about my impressions. Was this another kind of? Rhythmically? I think we had another.
Rhythmically, a lot of similar.
So maybe rhythmic sequences.
Sort of, yeah.
Ish?
Sure, yeah. It's kind of divided into two phrases a little bit.
Yes, I would hear busyness followed by rest, and
Yeah.
then busyness followed by rest.
Right, yeah.
That's all I can really say right now. Although I do feel like the busyness occupied the entire first measure,
Yeah.
resting on the second measure,
Yeah,
and continuing that pattern.
yeah.
You want to see if that actually happens?
Let's see. So, rhythms.
Rhythms, yes.
Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Okay. First measure,
Mm-hmm.
4 eighth notes.
Yep.
Not sure what they are just yet. And then resting on the second measure.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 2 quarter notes in that measure.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving on to the third measure, is there more rest, or do we go right into the 4 more quarter notes?
I think we're right into the half note.
Oh, okay. That's what's going on, yeah. I missed the measure in my head. That would be a full half note.
Yes.
And then the measure 4.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere else I'm hearing this busyness, so this has got to be it.
Yeah, that's probably it.
4 eighth notes.
Yeah.
And then a similar thing in the fifth measure where we actually have 2 quarter notes.
Yes.
That I'm cleverly, having learned from my lessons, writing stems up here. Okay.
All right.
So that was the second listen.
Third listen, notes.
Notes. It's time for notes.
All right, here we go. 1.
Ooh, but I need to figure out the opening note, don't I?
Oh, yeah, you do. What do you think?
Oh, you're not even going to play it, are you? Because I should be having do in my head this whole time.
Yeah.
We're in a new key. We're in F.
Yeah.
Maybe I might not have been paying attention when we were orienting ourselves to the key.
Uh-huh.
But I shouldn't need to do that because if I'm listening to the melody,
It'll
it's all
orient
there.
yourself, yeah.
Yeah. I know I did that minor-y, but I think still we're on 1.
Yeah, I
still
think
think we're on 1.
Yeah. If anything gives it away, gives
Yeah.
it away, right?
Why did that give it away?
1, 5, 1.
Yeah, that must have been it.
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 5, 1, which is actually in the melody.
Yes.
But we won't talk about that just yet. We'll just go ahead and listen to it and write it
All right,
down. Huh?
Listen 3.
Listen 3.
1, 2, 1, 2.
God, is that a 5-1?
You tell me.
1, 5, 1. I guess it is. That's great. Okay, so the last 2 notes I know are actually a 5-1.
Yeah.
Those last 2 quarter notes, which is going to be a C,
Mm-hmm.
moving down to an F.
Mm-hmm.
Which listen are we on?
That was 3.
That was 3. Okay, so I'm not getting ahead of myself. This is where we need to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. First measure.
Mm-hmm.
This was kind of straightforward. I heard 4 quarter notes. I'm sorry, 4 eighth notes.
4 eighth notes.
There I go again.
Mm-hmm.
F, moving down to C,
Mm-hmm.
back up to F. This
Yep.
other note, I was trying to determine if it was a step up or an arpeggiating type thing.
Yeah.
I want to say it was an arpeggiating thing.
Well, in arpeggiation.
Ah! Nope, I was wrong. But I knew exactly when I heard it that I was wrong.
Yeah, you did. So that's progress.
That's progress. Okay. Da, 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 2. And then that would be up to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so measure 1. All eighth notes. F to C to F. Moving up stepwise to G.
Yep.
Landing on A.
A, yeah.
At the top of the second measure.
Yep.
And then it moves down again.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to call this G. I'm going to listen for it fourth time around.
Okay.
But I'm going to call it G right now.
Okay.
So second measure, 2 quarter notes, A and G.
Mm-hmm.
Third measure, rest. We have rest. We have a bit of a almost like a cadence.
Yeah, almost like not a rest, not like a.
Oh,
a
I'm
whole
sorry.
Rest, yeah.
Yeah,
But kind of a pause.
A pause, a moment of rest.
So pause in the melodic motion. So this is a longer sustained note.
Yes, to clarify, not an empty space where a note would be, which is.
So this is a half note.
Yes, this is indeed a half note.
That half note is.
That's going to occupy the entire measure. It's going to be an F sharp.
Well, it's going to be an F. We're in the key of F.
Oh yes, I'm still thinking in that old key we were in, D. Yes, F natural. Okay, and then measure 4, we have another 4/8 note thing going on. But having yammered so much about the other things, I think I forgot exactly what's going on here.
So maybe that next to last measure, which is always tricky. Seems like we can put off to listen 4.
I think I'm learning where my attention span starts to die off.
Starts to decline after 3 measures.
20 seconds into the thing, maybe 10 seconds into the thing.
All right, so let's do that 4th listen.
Okay,
We're going to see if we can figure out what those last set of 8th notes are. We're going to see if we can confirm that is in fact G in measure 2.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. So did we manage to confirm G?
Yes, I felt like that was G.
Okay, so there's one step gone.
And then in this last measure, I feel like we have another thing where we're kind of walking up the scale.
Yeah.
To the 5.
Yeah.
And then dropping back down to the 1. So if I know that there's 4 notes that can move up to that 5, I might start this 5 and go back and start counting down. So, and then the finished product will look like this. Please, God, let me be right. Measure 4, submitted for your approval, Matt. F sharp, F natural. These are all 8th notes. Moving up the scale to G, A, B flat, C.
C in the 5th measure.
In the 5th measure, we have a C quarter note, and then the next quarter note is actually down back to the root. Back to F.
What would I tell you what would you say if I told you missed 1 note?
I would not be surprised.
So first of all, that's like a 99, right? So
I would not be surprised.
That F that begins measure 4, that begins that 8th note run, was that in fact what happened? And then if I were to do that, do what you transcribed.
Yeah, no, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
So actually, let's do this. Let's see if I get this right. Instead of starting on F, we're actually going to start this on scale degree 2.
But then aren't you overshooting the C at the beginning?
Yeah, but I thought maybe it went.
What if I said the 3 words lower neighbor note?
If you said the 3 words lower neighbor note to me, what would that tell me? Oh, okay. Where I wanted to walk all the way up that scale, it actually probably went here, then down, and then back up.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Just like a good neighbor tune. Okay, so now I'm going to work this thing backwards yet again from this thing and do a different pattern. So this will actually be A. 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so measure 4. Hopefully this time submitted for your approval.
Resubmitted for my
Resubmitted. Okay, so measure 4, we have all 8th notes. Starting on A, moving down to G. Back up to A. Further up to B flat. And then that's where we land on that C in measure 5. Resolving down to 1. Also.
So on our 5th listen, maybe we can confirm that.
Let's do that.
And really, at this point, the 5th listen would be where we were changing those little things, right?
That's where I would have probably... That might be where I caught myself, Matt.
Yeah, it might just be, yeah.
Or maybe not. Let's listen. 5th listen. 1, 2, 1, 2. It looks like it's lining up with everything I have now.
I have now, yeah. And again, if listen 5 is not, if it's confirming what you know, don't take listen 5 as a freebie. If you're listening and something sounds off from what you wrote, there's your last chance to change it, right?
That's right, because once I figured out I kind of had everything kind of nailed down, 5 might have been the time where I just kind of slacked off and smugly said, yeah, I got this.
Yeah, we got this. Yeah, don't do that.
But I would have missed that change up that you pointed out to me on.
Right, yeah, listen. Yeah.
Wow, okay. Well,
it's actually like a 8-measure thing.
Oh man, so you're actually cutting me a little bit of a break by giving me 4 measures.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that.
No problem.
But where do we go from here as we move forward? I know, obviously, we're going to do this kind of in a sequence.
Yes.
We just took care of major. We did 4 examples in major.
Yep.
Next time we get together for melodic dictation
we'll
parts,
think about some minor keys.
We'll think about some minor keys.
And we'll also think about reinforcing singing scale-wise versus arpeggiation.
Oh, yeah?
And the little mental gymnastics it takes to switch back and forth as melody switching back and forth from doing those 2 things.
It would seem I could probably stand some practice in that arena.
Yeah. We all could.
Yeah. And then maybe we'll get a little more complicated.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe have 6 measures or something like that. But either way, I think that's a good place to go ahead and put this down, huh?
All right, sounds good, yeah.
As far as a recap, I don't know.
This whole episode was a recap.
Yeah, this whole episode was nothing but tips on ear training, and then we got into the listens. But when we did finally get into the listens, the main thing I think we want to push is first listen.
Mm-hmm. First listen, general impressions.
Mm-hmm.
Second listen, be worried about rhythms, largely. The notes will continue to sink in.
Mm-hmm.
Third listens, be solidifying some notes. Fourth listen, the tricky spots that you maybe weren't sure of yet. And then fifth lesson, confirm what you know, make any last-minute modifications.
Which might be necessary.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right. This was fun.
Yes, I hope you guys got a lot out of that.
Anytime I get to torture Jeremy, is great.
This is not acting.
Yeah.
This is not me being some goofy personality who gets things wrong all the time. This is actually, this is me.
Yeah. And he's so in the beginning chapters of these books too, folks. This is so it's like in the front of this book. He's just funny.
The mountain is high, the mountain is steep, and the first step has been taken.
Yes. Continue stepping with us.
Indeed, we have taken one small step for our ears. And one giant leap for our musicianship. Next leg of the journey, minor scales. So, keep on listening. And remember, if you have questions or comments, be sure to send them to info@musicstudent101.com.